Let your mind take you back in time for a few minutes, back to the time of the Mayan Empire. Travel with us to Mexico and Belize. Rebecca and I had the opportunity to visit two ancient Mayan cities, Tulum and Altunja.
This ancient race of people once dominated the Yucatan Peninsula with a very advanced civilization.
The civilization lasted for several thousand years, and we were fortunate enough to see sites from the beginning and end of this empire. Altunja was first constructed in 600 BC, and Tulum wasn't built until around 1250 AD.
The Mayas were very famous for their writing system, concept of zero, their artistic style, urbanization, bridges and roads, architecture, and astronomy.
Architecture was important to the Mayas. They spent much time developing their cities.
As you may see, the exterior of these structures are very elaborate. This is because the Mayas spent most of their time outside, and they did not concentrate their efforts on the interior. They spent most of their time outside because of the warm climate.
Their system of roads and bridges was very impressive. They actually built roads several feet thick so that they would last. That clearly worked, as many of these roads are still intact today.
When many of these cities were discovered, they were thought to have no organizational structure at all. Later studies proved that the buildings were positioned so that a certain design would be cast down on a surface through the building during certain astrological events.
Most people want to know about the pyramids. These pyramids are thousands of years old and signify one thing: religion. These places were places of worship, a temple. Becca, did you know that the Mayas didn't call them pyramids?
No, what do they call them?
They are called ziggurats, and they are referred to as the stairway to the heavens.
So, what did they do in the temple other than worship?
Mayan people performed human sacrifices and played a ball game.
I heard about that. It's sort of like basketball, because there are two hoops at either end of the court on the sides of a wall. The teams will try to get a ball through the hoop by either throwing it or kicking it.
One myth of the Mayas involves two hero twins outsmarting the arrogant lords of the underworld in many ways, including defeating them in this ballgame. These twins had superhuman powers and ultimately became the sun and the moon.
Some people believe that the representations of ball games may all be derived from this myth. The ball courts that have been discovered in Mayan temples appear very difficult to play on, as the hoops are very high off the ground.
Others believe that these games were played on a regular basis to determine who was to be sacrificed to the gods. The Mayan people considered it an honor to be sacrificed, so it may have actually been the winners of this game who were given to the gods.
According to Mayan legend, gods created the first people from corn.
Because of this, Aman, the god of agriculture and corn, was the most worshipped god of the many that they had. To name a few, there were Chak, god of rain, Wanab Kwa, the creator, and Ekshua, the god of cocoa and war.
This race believed in a beginning and an end to everything they did. It derived from the fact that life had a beginning and an end. Everything dies eventually. Because of this, they thought everything else had to die or end sometime.
One example of this is the calendar. The Mayan calendar began in 3114 BC, and they believed that either the world would end or the planets would be perfectly aligned, causing the magnetic poles to switch, creating a new beginning on December 21st, 2012.
A few people also believe that aliens helped the Mayas, and in 2012, the aliens will make contact with us and explain how they helped the Mayas. The Mayas developed this calendar, and it's almost like ours, in that it has 365 days in 1 year.
One difference is that it has 18 months of 20 days each, plus 5 more at the end of the year that were considered unlucky. During these 5 days, the people would be extremely careful not to upset the gods.
In the Mayan culture, there were 3 social classes: elite, middle, and lower.
In the elite group, there were tradesmen, clergy, soldiers, architects, and royalty.
The middle class consisted of stonemasons, government servants, and craftsmen.
The lowest class was made up of farmers. Although the classes were so diverse, they still have things in common. One example is their love for the cocoa bean.
The cocoa beans were so valuable, they were used as currency.
They even drank the chocolate in the world's first hot chocolate.
They also valued physical appearance. Long, flat foreheads and crossed eyes were considered attractive, but only the royalty obtained this appearance.
In order to get this appearance, the women would hang strings of beads in front of their children's faces and tie boards tightly to their foreheads.
Teeth filed to a point were also popular. They inlaid gems such as obsidian and jade into their teeth as well.
In order to clean their teeth, the Mayas chewed gum. They got this gum from the sapodilla tree. The popularity of chewing gum today has actually advanced the development of Mayan studies. Workers collecting sap from this tree have discovered many ruins.
The Mayan population started to decline between 800 and 925 AD, years before the Spanish arrived in Central America. Nobody really knows why the Mayan civilization declined, but there are several theories.
One theory is that their land for growing crops dwindled too much for their growing population. Another is that the climate changed too much and they had to relocate. The lower classes may have also rebelled against their rulers.
Over the next 250 years, the Mayas mixed with another civilization called the Toltec, and then between 1200 and 1500 AD, the Mayas began fighting with each other as they divided up into city-states.
When the Spanish came in the 1500s, they destroyed many of the Mayan artifacts, including all but a couple of the Mayan writings. Even though the Maya lost power in the Yucatan, their society still thrives to this day.
This is not a dead culture. The people are still alive, the rituals are still practiced, and the history is readily available to anyone who wishes to learn about it. Maya want to preserve their culture, and they want you to discover the richness of their culture today.